deadly bees and beetles, to the wolverine frog. Here are 20 of the weirdest defense mechanisms of animals. 20. African crested rat. Native to the eastern part of the continent, these rodents have long hair and bushy tails that make them somewhat resemble porcupines. Now, part of the diet includes chewing on the bark of small poisonous trees. The rodent deliberately smears that toxin onto the fibrous, spongy hairs that surround a glandular area of its body. Now, should a predator try to bite the rat, the toxin absorbed in those hairs will sicken the aggressor, possibly killing it. 19. Seeing the light. There are around 70 species of this crustacean so far identified, and that is a large number for such a small critter. Also known as seed shrimp, they average only about 1 millimeter in size. In order to protect themselves, the microscopic animals can use a type of bioluminescence in case they are captured by a predator. As the ostracod begins to shine brightly, it illuminates the predator, making them prey for their own predators. Now, at that point, the ostracod is usually rejected in favor of a less noticeable meal. 18. Boxing crabs. These crustaceans have a cooperative pact with other marine life that usually results in a win-win for all parties concerned. The name comes from their behavior of holding sea anemones in the claws for the purpose of self-defense. It kind of looks like they're wearing tiny boxing gloves. And while it can also look as if the crabs are holding little pom-poms, the anemones can pack a toxic punch. They also benefit from the crab transporting them around, increasing the chance to gather food. 17. Ironclad beetles. Now, here is an insect that could have been designed by Tony Stark. This creature is aptly named since they're known to possess one of the hardest exoskeletons of any known arthropods. The armor is so dense, in fact, that a small drill often has to be used just to bore a hole into the bodies so an insect pin can be inserted. Did you know that in Mexico, certain species of this beetle are decorated with costume jewelry and sold as living brooches? 16. Opossum. Well, chances are you've heard the term playing possum. It is named for this marsupial's familiar strategy of essentially playing dead. But it has some other tricks as well. The animal can start foaming at the mouth to convince predators it's sick or toxic. Speaking of which, the critter can let loose a noxious green secretion from its glands that has a stench rivaling that of a skunk. Did you know that when opossums play dead, they enter a near comatose state that can last from a few minutes to around 4 hours? 15. Pygmy sperm whale. This creature is rarely seen, but it could be considered a miniature counterpart to its larger cousins. These small critters are not much bigger than many dolphins, measuring around 11 feet long and weighing around 900 pounds. These cetaceans are unique in that they evade predators by using a tactic usually associated with squids. Pygmy sperm whales have a sac in the belly that contains a dark reddish-brown type of syrup. When predators like orcas are after them, they'll release the fluid into the water, then swish it around with the tail to disorient their pursuer. 14. Elephant hawk moth caterpillar. It looks like a 3-inch long creature that has a snake-like posture and has 4 large dark eyes. But that's really the larva of an elephant hawk moth. While the insects maintain that reptilian facade, birds and other predators are less likely to attack it. The common name was inspired by the caterpillar shape, which kind of resembles an elephant's trunk. 13. Skunks. These critters are known by sight by the black and white coloration, which is actually a warning to would-be predators. They likely have one of the most familiar defense mechanisms in the entire animal kingdom, and if you've ever had the misfortune to smell it, you'll never forget it. Skunks belong to a family noted for having scent glands that produce powerful odors, but skunks in particular produce the strongest stink of all. The stench can be smelled for miles as it's carried downwind. With the critter able to accurately aim their assault from up to 10 feet away, the spray is strong enough to make even bears turn back and cause temporary blindness. 12. The HIPPO YAWN. Now, admittedly, this might not be the most exciting defense mechanism on the list, but it is a simple and effective one. Should you happen upon a hippo and it yawns in your direction, it's not because the huge mammal is bored, it's really a way of telling you to get lost, unless you want some 3,000 pounds or more of angry hippo racing towards you at nearly 20 miles per hour. Did you know their canine teeth are made of ivory and can grow to about 50 centimeters in length? 11. Pangolins. While it can resemble an armadillo and has drawn comparisons to anteaters, pangolins are not related to either animal. Found in Africa and Asia, they do exhibit some behavior that's similar to that of armadillos. They will roll themselves up into a protective ball and allow their armor-like scales to protect them. The overlapping scaly plating resembles a type of chainmail, and because the scales are razor-sharp, that serves as an extra measure of defense. Pangolins can also emit a foul-smelling odor from the rear glands, similar to a skunk spray. However, they are not related to skunks either. 10. Cuttlefish. The marine animals are related to squid and octopuses and are not actually fish, but a mollusk. As opposed to the self-defense tactics of other animals, these critters have a more passive approach. Cuttlefish can rapidly alter their skin coloration, often within only a second. Changing their color, pattern, and even shape serves to both camouflage themselves and warn off potential predators. Experts say that their changing coloration can also be a means of communicating with other cuttlefish. 9. Bombardier beetles. The insect is well known for its unusual method of self-defense. Its stomach serves as a type of reaction chamber, where two chemical compounds are mixed to create a boiling hot spray that can be directed at predators. Experts say the noxious fluid is emitted from the tips of the critter's abdomen with a distinct popping sound. The stinking, scalding spray can be accurately aimed in a wide range of directions, according to this species. And did you know that these little beasts are also known as machine gun beetles? And that's due to their rapid-fire capability, that popping sound we mentioned, and because when the fluid is ejected, it's hot enough to generate a type of gun smoke. 8. Iberian ribbed newt. This is the largest species of European newt, and it's known for its defensive strategy that involves a good degree of self-mutilation. It's known for having sharp ribs which can puncture through its skin. The amphibian will then simultaneously start secreting poison from glands on its body. Now, coated with that poison, the ribs can potentially inject the toxins into the mouth of its attacker. The newt's skin heals quickly and without infection, thanks to a superior immune system. 7. Exploding ants. Several species of carpenter ants located in Southeast Asia are known to engage in the act of suicidal altruism, or autothesis. That's where animals will essentially sacrifice themselves for the greater good, or take one for the team, as it were. If it seems like the tide of battle is turning for the worse, these ants will contract their abdomens, which will cause their poison-filled mandibles to rupture and spray the attackers in the vicinity with a corrosive chemical irritant that can immobilize them. 6. Exploding termites. And speaking of taking one for the team, there are several species of termites that exhibit autothesis as well. Located in Vietnam and Malaysia, 10% of the populations are comprised of soldier termites, identified by the large mandibles and yellow abdomens. When it appears the tide of battle has turned against them, these soldiers will force a liquid out through a large gland in the body. That liquid hardens and creates a sticky substance that traps the aggressors. It also contains a pheromone that summons other soldiers to the battleground. 5. Texas horned lizard. Even though it's sometimes called a horned toad, it has no relation to amphibians, and while their spiky features give them a fearsome appearance, experts say they're docile for the most part. To escape predators, they can usually blend into the background thanks to the coloration, but they can also puff themselves up into a spiked ball that makes them difficult for predators to swallow. However, the showstopper here is the lizard's unique ability to shoot a stream of blood from their eyes. The foul taste of the liquid is usually enough to turn away the attacker. When you think about it, the sight of this animal shooting gore from its eyes from 5 feet away should be enough of a deterrent as it is. 4. Hairy frog. A little bit of false advertising here, since this amphibian from Central Africa is not really hairy. It just gets that name from the thin, hair-like strands of skin that males develop on the bodies during breeding season. They have a defense mechanism similar to the previously mentioned Iberian newt. Now, when threatened, these animals will create retractable claws by breaking the bones in the toes and shoving them through the skin. It's still unclear just how those claws retract, but experts say they might later pull back into the toe pads. Because the bizarre defense mechanism resembles the abilities of the Logan character in the X-Men, this one is sometimes called the Wolverine frog. 3. Sea cucumbers. Most marine predators tend to avoid these critters. It seems their reputation for self-defense precedes them. Not only do they contain a toxin called holothurine, they engage in a process called evisceration. That's where sticky tubules and other organs are expelled through the posterior at the predator, which serves to entangle them. Now, in addition, the sea cucumbers can also expel holothurine, which can kill creatures in the vicinity. 2. Hagfish. While these eel-shaped marine creatures do have a skull, they do not have a vertebral column, which makes them the only known extant animals to have that physiology. Over the course of some 300 million years, the animals have remained mostly unchanged. But they've had plenty of time to develop some unusual ways to defend themselves. If captured by a predator, the hagfish can secrete a gooey, slime-like mucus that will expand into 20 liters of gelatinous material when combined with the water. Now, that slime can clog up the gills of predator fish, making it difficult for them to breathe. 1. Honeybee death ball. One of the strangest defense mechanisms on the list might involve some insects we think of as rather ordinary, so we're going to give it the number 1 position here. Japanese honeybees will take on giant hornets, which are almost sting-proof, by adopting a strength-in-numbers strategy. Around 500 of the bees will pile onto a hornet that invades the hive. Then, vibrating the flight muscles, they generate intense heat approaching some 47 degrees Celsius, or around 117 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that temperature is lethal to the hornets. After nearly an hour, that hornet, along with some bees, will have been taken out. But the hive is protected and will survive thanks to the blazing hot bee bowl of death.